a series called Anchored, and it makes sense that being anchored would bring comfort. So that's the name of today's Devo. Especially in a storm when we're far from shore, we want to be anchored so that we don't drift. Being anchored can mean being comforted. So we know in Psalm 23, the writer says the shepherd's rod and staff comfort him. They anchor him and keep him from falling and wandering away. Psalm 119 says the law of the Lord is comforting, and his unfailing love is comforting. We all need to be comforted. Our children need to be comforted when they fall after they've lost a game or when a friend has moved away. There's nothing like the comfort of a parent when their arms are wrapped around a child that's sobbing. For this devotional, we're going to go back at that beatitude that says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Being comforted is just like being anchored, because when we mourn or are in grief, we tend to wander and wonder about the goodness of God. The first story is of Lazarus dying. It says Jesus showed up to comfort Lazarus' sisters, Mary and Martha. Had Jesus not shown up in their grief, I wonder how the story would have turned out. Maybe both women would have lost their faith in their Lord. Maybe Mary was already questioning the fact that Jesus wasn't present in the time of their need, so who really was he? Jesus also told his followers in John 14 to not let their heart be troubled, and he comforts them with words of hope about how in his Father's house are many mansions. A hope of a future when this world is too much to handle. And then Jesus promises the Holy Spirit, who will be an advocate, the Spirit of truth, and an instrument of peace and comfort. 2 Corinthians says this, "Praise to God, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in trouble so that we can comfort those in trouble with the comfort that we have received." That's a lot of comforting. Just as we share abundantly in suffering, so our comfort abounds if we are comforted. It's for your comfort. The word comfort is mentioned 9 times in those 4 verses. In fact, it says that comfort produces patient endurance. So I think we might all agree that instead of comforting, we would feel like Mary did. We would rather have had Jesus present and prevented our brother or our friend from dying in the first place. No comfort needing. Let's just put off all the dying. Jesus' followers didn't like it when Jesus said he was leaving, when he was going to suffer, and in fact, they failed to understand what Jesus was saying. They would have rather followed Jesus always on the earth, never seen the Lord crucified, never having need of a comforter. I would. I think we all pray for healing, for miracles, for provision, for comforts of this world, rather than asking that the God of comfort help us in the middle of sadness. But it seems to me that being comforted, experience the anchoring that comforting brings as part of the process of growing in faith and being secure in Him, whether we like it or not. Comfort isn't just a pat on the back or even a strong hug like when we hold our kids and then put them down and tell them to go back to playing after they've skinned their knee. The comfort we receive is a sharing of sorts in suffering so that when we are comforted, we can comfort others. This produces endurance, something we have to finish the race. We just recently watched the movie Gran Turismo, and I had no idea how rigorous the training was for race car drivers. I never knew they had to be so fit to just sit behind the wheel of a car. And winning every race with no obstacles only produces pride, fame, and a condescending look on others. However, losses and experiencing comfort after receiving instruction on how to move forward and experiencing downtimes of healing when injured, all contributes and makes a winner that is humble and thankful for the coach that brought him to the finish line. Those women needed the comfort that only Jesus could bring in the loss of their brother. The disciples needed to know that Jesus was their comfort when they were misunderstood, ridiculed, and threatened because of their faith. And we all need the growth and the instrument of peace and the God of all comfort in order to experience the fullness of Christ. Without the mourning being among those that are blessed when we mourn, there is no comfort. And without comfort, there is no way to comfort someone else. And without the comforter, we are never anchored, but always wandering and wondering why. Comfort and anchored, blessed are we.